feel like I look like a priest.
What's going on, pre-Chiro students? This is Dr. Ben Glass. I'm in another relevant conversation for you with Dr. Phil Dieter. Dr. Phil, can you just introduce yourself to the students and share what you were up to before chiropractic school, what attracted you to becoming a chiropractor, and just give us a little insight into that pivot point of where you were at in life at that moment that you decided?
Yeah, that's interesting. I was thinking about that last night, as I was going to bed and just that whole journey. I'm a son of a chiropractor. And so, I grew up in a chiropractic office and always thought I was going to go to chiropractic school. But somewhere along the line, I got sidetracked and I went to college, got an undergraduate degree, and just wanted to do my own thing. And I actually was studying at the time ag business. I graduated with a ag business degree, food science minor. So I thought I was going into farming, really. Um, got an opportunity to work like in a golf setting, and then that didn't work out. And so I was basically kind of looking for a job. This is right around the year 2000 when Y2K was about to take us all down. And so I took a job with a friend of mine who was starting a company, and everybody was making money at that time in Silicon Valley. And so it seemed like the right thing to do. And I was making good money and I was enjoying what I was doing. But at the same time, I just had this thought in the back of my head all the time, like, man, is this really what I want to do with my life? Is this, where I see myself ending up? And at the end of the day, I said, if I'm ever going to go back to chiropractic school, I better do it now, because I was 26 years old at the time. And, I was getting worried that I was about to turn 30. And here I am, 45, almost 20 years later. That's what made me think of it, is that they always talk about when you get into chiropractic school, that's really when you enter into the chiropractic profession. So I'm going on 20 years now. And so I made that decision in 2006 to go back to school, and haven't looked back. It's been one of the best things I've done.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about what it was like to grow up in a chiropractic family? You said your dad was a chiropractor. How might things been a little bit different? How might that have made going to chiropractic school a little bit different type of experience for you?
Absolutely. In our family, we always think chiropractic first. I'm sort of the strange one, I guess, when it comes to that. It's like, well, don't you get adjusted? And it's like, if we had something that came up where we needed to go to the doctor or the hospital or whatever, it's not like we wouldn't, take that opportunity or do what we needed to do. But we're always like, okay, well, we better get checked. We better get adjusted, in addition to whatever else was going on. And so I grew up in the office, probably started answering phones where, I was,
Hey, I just lost you for like 25 seconds there, or
okay.
20 seconds, which is fine. We can edit that. But can you make sure that things are set to do not disturb, or that there might not have been something on the background that might have interrupted the connection feed?
I have really unstable connection here too. That's part of my problem in Morgan Hill. I'm going to a meeting with City Council to make sure we get broadband here pretty quick.
Got it. Got it. Got it. Okay. No worries.
How are we looking now?
You're fine. You're fine. It's just cut out. You cut out for like 15 seconds, and we lost two viewers during those 15 seconds. So I was like, all right, let's not have this happen again, just in case people tune back in. But
Sure.
can you talk about what your student experience was like, what you were attracted to, what you gravitated towards, and what shaped you in your development and becoming a chiropractor?
Yeah, I had great student experience. So I'm very thankful and grateful to the faculty at Life West Chiropractic College. I feel like, I didn't have a lot of the science background, and maybe that's one of the things that I hesitated in the beginning to go back to chiropractic school, because I was worried about, am I going to be able to cut it when it comes to the science background? And so uh, I felt like, I've always been a good student, and if I put my mind to something, I could achieve it. And so that's really the approach that I took, was that I was just going to do whatever was necessary to get it done. And so that's what I went about doing. And I can remember a point in time, I was actually in Jim Hawkins' class. I don't know if you remember Jim,
Mm-hmm.
but long
Walk
time
talk.
professor. Yep, exactly. And it was one of those days where I'd been working jobs as I was working as a bouncer in a bar in the evenings. Sometimes I was driving limos on the weekends, just trying to make a little extra money, to get through school and that kind of thing. And I was pretty tired in this class, and I was kind of, like fading a little bit that day. And I remember he came up to me after class and said, "Dieter, what's going on? Looks like you're having trouble paying attention today," kind of thing. And I was giving him my story about how I'd been working on the weekends and driving limos and that kind of things. And he said to me, "Sounds like you better figure out your priorities." And that was the day I'll never forget that conversation. That I dove headfirst into, my studies at the college, and just learning as much as I could, and approaching it in a much different fashion. It was the only option at that point. And so, I credit him, and I'm always thankful, like I said, to the faculty at Life West for instilling that in me. And so
Mm-hmm,
it was a
mm-hmm,
great experience. And from that point forward, I just went head first into the program.
mm-hmm. So what's practice life like? Can you describe to us, your lifestyle as a chiropractor? What's it like to be in practice? How do you have your office set up? What are your hours like?
Sure.
What's your work-life balance like?
You might have to repeat a couple of those questions for me, but yesterday even I was working on something. I'm a firm believer. I try to work to my next break, kind of thing. Almost like when you go to chiropractic college, you're on a quarter system, and then you have a break for a week or whatever it is. And I have found that if I schedule my life and I schedule my practice in a way that I work to my next break, then I can just dive headfirst into my work for 2 or 3 months. And when I say work, I look at this as something that just comes naturally in respect to uh, there's no days when I'm not a chiropractor. Whenever I go to my kids' PTA meetings or any sort of social function, it's like it's not all of a sudden that I'm not a chiropractor anymore. I've become somewhat known in my circle of friends as Dr. Phil, and I accepted that name begrudgingly, because I didn't want to be associated with the guy on TV and all the antics and the stuff, but I recognized that patients, it was a term of endearment, and patients were looking for an opportunity to connect with me. And when I took that opportunity to become sort of my own Dr. Phil, it gave me a brand, or it gave me an identity in the community. And so, even now when I go places and, do things in a social setting, I'm still Dr. Phil. And so, in my mind, it's not one of those things that I separate myself out from my life as a chiropractor, and then my social life. And so, consequently, going to work sometimes on a Saturday morning to see patients is part of what helps sustain me. And I'm doing it more for myself in some cases than I am for the patients, because I like taking care of people, and that's who I am. That's what I do. And so,
Mm-hmm.
uh, from a practical sense, I work Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, like 8:30 to 5. We do have hours in my office from 8:30 to 10:30. We have a couple of associates, and my dad's still working. I mean, he'll be 70 here pretty quick. It'll be his 45th year in practice, and he loves coming to the office too. And so, I guess that's somewhat of the example that I've seen, and how I've approached it. And so, on Tuesdays, I work at the college. I teach business courses now. Everything's online via Zoom, so I think it's been a great change, actually, from a student perspective. I think it's long overdue. It was something that I had brought to the attention of my department head, and to my VP of Academic Affairs a couple of years ago, because I recognized that the new student has an opportunity to interact with education in a much different way. And I think that's one of the greatest opportunities that we have in chiropractic education, is to get better or adapt at how we deliver the information, and then subsequently how we put you into the field in a manner which makes you successful faster.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's what I'm really working towards. That's kind of how my week breaks up.
Hmm.
Sundays, I guess, is my day of rest, but that's the days I do my grading and other things that I might need to do to get ready to run my office. Because in my office, I do things like HR, bookkeeping, payroll, all of those kind of things, in addition to seeing patients. And so I have to be really rigorous about how I set up my day, how I set up my week, how I set up my month. I'm an exhaustive goal setter. One of the tools that I've used now for 8 years of my life is something called the Winner's Journal. And it's really just a simple like day planner, but it's a tool that I have used to be able to set goals, to be able to map out my life and to achieve what I want to achieve. And so I ultimately, I can look back over 8, 9 years of my life, and the things that I wrote into my Winner's Journal, the goals that I set for myself are the things that I have in my life right now. And so I'm a family person above all else. That's one of my highest values that I have. And so I look for opportunities to be present with my family, be present with I have a daughter that's 8 years old, and I want to be present with her, when I can, and do things with her, and take trips, and have experiences, and, just spend that quality time kind of thing. And so
That's real.
that's,
That's
how I
real.
kind of,
Yeah.
yeah,
No, it's really important to be able to be in practice, taking care of people, but also be at home with the family, taking care of the family.
yeah, absolutely.
So, can you touch on some of the topics that you explore with students in the business classes that you teach, and sort of what is the business training that chiropractic students go through to prepare themselves for the real world? Mm, hold on, it looks like we're in a pause. If you can hear me, I can't hear
Teach
you.
the marketing.
Oh, oh,
I
re,
can't hear
re,
you. I
okay,
can I can
so
hear you.
rewind to the
Okay.
beginning of your answer and start all
Sure.
over again.
So I currently teach the marketing systems class, and I teach the office procedures class, and that's something I've been doing now for probably 3 years, 2 or 3 years. And when I looked at those two courses, I said, okay, what are the things that I would like to do to try to prepare these students to, enter into their clinic experience, and then expose them to as much as I could possibly expose them to as they enter into the professional world. And so I've tried to bring access and resources to all of the connections I have in the chiropractic profession, whether it be chiropractic political connections, whether it be entrepreneurial connections, whatever it might be. I don't know if you're familiar with the Black Diamond Club, but that's a group that I've been working with now for about a year and a half, and uh, very big advocate of the curriculum that they have put forth and the ideals that they discuss in terms of becoming an entrepreneur in the chiropractic setting, because I think those are some of the things that we really need to capitalize on in the chiropractic profession, or get better at, quite frankly. And so that part of our education never stops, and we need to continue to do that even after we graduate and learn how to take care of patients, because ultimately that's going to be one of the things that allows chiropractic to elevate to that next level, is if we become a better business people, and we get thicker skin, in some cases. And that's, one of the things that I think we need to work on. And we suffer in chiropractic from the lack of residencies. In the medical profession, they have internships and residencies, and that's something that I'm really adamant about, is creating an environment, either through internships or associateships or whatever it might be, to offer students that sort of residency and that sort of safe landing spot, so that they can learn how to manage cases. They can learn how to run businesses, and become familiar with how to be successful in that regard. And so
Mhm.
that's something that I think I have really worked towards achieving in the chiropractic setting, or in the educational platform. And then, like I said, because I have really, chiropractic is just who I am. It's what I do. It's I'm not separate and distinct from who I am as a chiropractor, and who I am as, Phil Dieter, the individual citizen kind of thing. And so,
Mhm.
when we go on vacations, we go on chiropractic vacations, or, things when I interact with people, I have their chiropractic people, because I'm looking at ways to uh, elevate the chiropractic profession. And that's the lens kind of that I work through every day.
Mhm. Yeah, entrepreneurship is one of the hallmark differentiators between the chiropractic approach and, say, going to medical school or going to physical therapy school. Most people that go to those paths are ready to become employees and work in hospitals or
Absolutely.
clinics that are corporate settings. And those opportunities definitely exist in chiropractic as well. But can you speak to the entrepreneurial spirit, what it's like to be an entrepreneur, what it means, and also just what are some of the skill sets that students can start to potentially explore right now for themselves and to gain experience with so that they can get a sense of what it's like to be an entrepreneur?
Sure, sure. But being an entrepreneur is a very exciting thing, but it also requires a lot of discipline, and that's the thing I think that in some cases, people become fearful of or get worried about. And you have to be self motivated, and you have to uh, develop your own schedule, and you have to be creative. That's really the opportunity that gives you. That's, I guess, what I love about it, and what excites me is that there's oftentimes when I try to tie into, like, what's the universe telling me right now? Like, what am I supposed to be doing? Who am I supposed to be finding to serve, and who am I supposed to be serving? And so then I'll get these ideas about, okay, I need to create a workshop on doing this so that I can attract this group of people. Because I think one of the things I've learned, through the Black Diamond Club, and we use the Book Yourself Solid curriculum as a lot of our marketing platform at the college, and is developing this concept of, okay, am I really meant to work with? Who am I really meant to serve? And when I've done those exercises, and the more I think about those things, it's helped me to figure out, okay, well, where do I then go to work with these people, or where do I find these people to work with? And so then the ideas come to me somewhat innately to develop this idea, or to make this connection, or to interact with this group, or write for this newsletter, or whatever it might be. And so the more I've embraced that and engaged that, like I said, that's somewhat how I've developed this brand, somewhat of my own Dr. Phil,
Mhm,
in our community and among my social circle.
mhm,
Because even like when I'm with some of my old high school buddies, and they introduce me to their kids now who are 8, 9, 10 years old, they're like, "Oh, this is Dr. Phil," kind of thing. And so
mhm,
then the kids start to know me as Dr. Phil, and that's the real opportunity that you have, is to create this brand or this identity for yourself. And I
mhm,
think, like I said, it requires discipline, requires effort, but when you can embrace that kind of thing, I think the rewards, there's quite a few rewards attached to that kind of thing, and that's what
mhm.
I get excited about.
Yeah, I'd love to just run a quick theoretical model past you that I've been working on for
Sure.
pre-Chiro, where I challenge prospective students to potentially start their own pre-Chiro club on a college campus or in their high school setting, and they treat it as though it's a business. Maybe they find ways to make money with it, but really it's about how do I reach the people that I think would benefit from being introduced to this type of energy that the club has within it. And I'm just curious if you were giving recommendations to a high school or college student, or maybe somebody transitioning careers, wanting to go into chiropractic and wanting to get practice, starting a business or starting a club within this context. What are some ways that they can set goals for themselves? Do you recommend that they set like a goal for each semester where it's like I'm going to get this amount of members in, and we're going to conduct this amount of meetings and have maybe some marketing events, and potentially go out and do community outreach? Do you have any sort of reflections or recommendations to give to prospective students that I'm categorizing them at this level 4, right before the admissions process, where they're going to get some actual entrepreneurship experience?
Well, I think one of the best things I've seen, and this is what I love about kind of what you're doing here, Ben. I always love your ideas when it comes I love the conversations that we get to have. Um, Many years ago, I was working with Dr. Danny Gambino down south in San Diego, and he had done some pre-Chiro club work as well, and developed some of these groups, and they were very successful in his area. And I think what I noticed in that situation was that the pre-Chiro clubs that he had helped work with kind of partnered with a doctor out in the field. And then they sat down and they, like you said, brainstormed to some extent and figured out, okay, who do I need to connect with, or who do I want to connect with? And then who may I know that is associated with that person, or who might be able to connect me? Because I guarantee you that when you ask someone for that kind of help and assistance when it comes to making the connection, they're going to help you. And if they're not going to help you, then they probably weren't worth connecting with anyways. And so I would look for those opportunities to create connection, because then when you find the right person to connect with, the opportunity is going to start to unfold naturally, because that person's going to look for ways to help you build up and achieve what you're trying to achieve. And in some respects, provide mentorship or coaching or whatever you want to call it. But that's the scenario that I think I saw work really well with what Dr. Gambino did many years ago. And I think that's, I'd love to see something like that continue, because I witnessed the groups that came into school who had been part of his pre-chiro clubs in San Diego, and their experience in chiropractic college was outstanding. And it was, they went in there full of steam, ready to go, somewhat knew what to expect. I mean, it wasn't without work, it wasn't without sacrifice, but ultimately they started to learn the philosophy and the foundation of chiropractic before they went to chiropractic school. And that's one of the things that I really want chiropractic students to become more knowledgeable about is, what did it take to get us to this point in the profession? What were the sacrifices that were made by the chiropractors who came before us? What was the foundation that was laid for us to have the opportunity to do what we do? Because I have great reverence for that, and that's something that I think is very important. And I think because I have had that opportunity, and I hope that because those students had that opportunity in their pre-chiropractic club, it made them more passionate about becoming a chiropractor. And subsequently, when you have more passion, you have more certainty about becoming a chiropractor. And when you have a bit more certainty about becoming a chiropractor, you're going to be more successful. You're going to be more convicted. That's going to change patient outcomes, because you've done the work on the front end to get the results on the back end. And that's how important I think something like what you're doing can become, is it can not only provide a foundation for your chiropractic education, but it'll become a foundation for your success as a practitioner years down the road.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, when you plant a tree, the better the quality of the soil that you plant that tree in, and the more time you take to position it so that it gets the optimal sunlight. And if there's water flowing down in certain directions and you place it in the right place, it's going to flourish. And that's the same analogy that I take with this whole pre-chiro thing. If we set people up and frame things so that they can have clarity and have an expanded context of what the Black Diamond Club might be able to offer them before chiropractic school, and then keep them connected to throughout chiropractic school, so that when they get out of chiropractic school, they already have an expanded learning curve, like they have an extra 3 years or an extra 4 years. I think that it'll be huge for them, just in terms of literacy, self literacy, knowing themselves, knowing what they want to achieve with their path. Um,
Absolutely.
you have gotten involved in chiropractic politics, California Chiropractic Association. Can you touch
Mhm.
on your involvement with them, and some interesting things that might attract people to get involved?
Sure. Well, like I was just talking about, as I became more convicted about what I do as a chiropractor, it led me into this political arena, in the sense where I wanted to make sure I was doing everything I could to protect chiropractic from the perspective within our profession, because there's certain things that I hold sacred that I want to continue to be the champion for. And then ultimately, from an outward perspective, I can remember that, this situation when I was a little kid on a playground, and somebody, being critical of me for my dad being a chiropractor. And so at that time, it didn't really affect me, because I was, this, stout little kid who didn't take, much flack from anyone. And so I probably just dismissed it, moved on, and it didn't even hit me on my radar, kind of thing. But, as I've developed my own family and I've grown up, I look at my daughter and she's 8 years old, and I'm thinking, I don't want something like that to happen to her, because, you want to become, you become the protector. And so I have become, as I've thought about that more and more, I've become determined to tell people what chiropractic is good for, because otherwise, if we don't dictate that narrative, someone else is going to dictate that narrative for us. And that's what I really hope even young practitioners start to understand, is that we have to get involved on the political level or in just some level so that we dictate the course of the narrative. And that's the opportunity I think that we have within the chiropractic profession and outwardly to our legislators and to anyone that we come across in our community, because ultimately I know what chiropractic is good for. I went to chiropractic school. I've done the homework. I've put in the hours. I've put in the time. Why would I let somebody tell me, who basically heard about chiropractic, from their aunt or their cousin, what chiropractic's good for, or whether they believe in chiropractic or not? I joke around with people sometimes in a social setting that, well, I'm not a leprechaun. You don't have to believe in me for me to exist. I may be this short little guy, but at the same time, chiropractic exists whether you believe in it or not. It's not up for question anymore. If you don't believe in chiropractic, that's on you. And so I'm not going to stand for that kind of talk anymore. And that's what I want to get chiropractic students in the habit. That's the position I want them to come from. And that's what I do, why I do what I do politically, because even if it's a political, excuse me, even if it's a legislator or the governor for that matter, I don't care who it is. I'm going to tell you what chiropractic is good for. And so, I naturally take that approach in everything in my life. And when it comes to speaking to people, I don't fear. I just try to speak from the heart. I don't fear having a conversation with somebody. I don't run from it, because I've learned that at the end of the day, if I just speak my truth and try to speak more boldly about what's important to me, then I can't go wrong. And that's what I've done. And the more I've done that, the better success I've had. And at the end of the day, I feel better about it. And that's really what matters, is what did I do and how did I speak about chiropractic in those settings? And so, right now I'm excited because we're looking at opportunities in California to advance care for people that don't have access to care. We're looking to create better parity for chiropractors out in the field. And those are all things that I think are important to sustaining our profession. And that's why I really encourage people like you and, even pre-chiropractic students to, get involved or try to look into what it means to become active in our association, even if it's just for mentorship or just for guidance, because I'll be happy to talk with anybody, or I tell my students all the time, feel free to reach out to me, after graduation, if we need to look at a contract, or if you need some guidance on, where it might be a good place to open up your business. That's what I'm looking to do, is elevate the chiropractic profession, not just me as an individual chiropractor. And that's the responsibility that I feel, I guess, from my upbringing somewhat, and because I have had the opportunity to be exposed to people like Dr. Sid Williams, Dr. Jerry Clum, and I'm grateful and I admire the sacrifice that they made to get us to this point where we have the opportunity now to take chiropractic to the next level. And so it's our turn to carry the torch and to lift do the heavy lifting. And so I take those kind of responsibilities seriously.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that with these state organizations, that it's important that they recognize that there's different needs depending on where you're at in the process. So obviously a pre-chiro student's needs will be different than a chiropractic student getting started, and also a chiropractic student entering into the real world upon graduation. So one of the things I want to just touch on and reflect on, because I've been thinking about how do we really meet the needs of the chiropractic stakeholders, the people that are involved in the profession and that these state associations really are fighting for, but also maybe not relating to in the best way that they could be. So some ways that I've been creatively thinking about it is, for a prospective student, every time I talk to somebody, they say, just shadow a chiropractor, get into an office, get that real world exposure. And now with virtual observations being a thing and like virtual shadowing, I think that giving chiropractors that are involved in the state association a platform that they can share what's going on in their office and compensate them for their time, because there will need to be a videographer, a photographer hired for that. and they will have to take time out of their schedule to do that. I think that's a great way to get them helping pre-Chiro students, and to get pre-Chiro students wanting to tap into that because it's quality. And then for chiropractic students graduating, I'm sure you remember growing up, and even just your daughter being in school now, there's always like a photo opportunity at the end of the year where you can capture this moment of your life where you're at this time. And I think when you're graduating, one of the most important things to do is capture, who you are, what you're passionate about, what you're aiming to do for the community that you're going out to serve. And so if there was a service potentially provided for these new graduates or people that are entering into the workforce, entering into the real world, opening their own practice, where it not only was like brand photography, but it was also potentially giving them an opportunity to come on a podcast like this and share their voice, share their message on behalf of the California Chiropractic Association. I think it could be a very valuable thing and can be perceived as a reason to join. Just that reason alone is reason enough to join. These are just some creative ideas I wanted to share with you. I'm really trying to figure out how we can not only attract more people to join the association by having activities that they get to participate in like this, that are ongoing, and provide a platform for them to share themselves, and to also get recognition that they're here, that they exist, and also just to help lift up these people that really just need a platform. They're amazing. Like you said, they're dedicated. They've put in the hours, they've put in the work, and they just need that opportunity to share. So that's been something that's been real eye-opening for me doing this platform called Pre-Chiro, where I've been able to introduce chiropractic students that are on fire and that are in a moment in a moment that is just uh, almost so temporary, because when you go out into the real world, your priorities change. Maybe you're not
Yeah.
as immersed. You're not as,
Then you're working.
yeah.
But I can tell you this, I guarantee you, I love that idea. And I guarantee you that there's chiropractors that'll line up for that opportunity to share, like you said, and to mentor and to provide guidance. That's one thing I know about the chiropractic profession is that, in that mindset of service, they're here to serve their patients, the chiropractic colleges, the students to be, all of those people. And I think you hit the nail on the head there, Ben, because even recently, I was interacting with some Palmer College students last week, and they're in their fourth quarter, I believe, or something to that extent. And one of the things they were talking about is, how do we get involved in the mentorship and see kind of what's going on? And I said, I guarantee you guys, you let me know when you're ready. I will put you together with whomever you want to be put together with, and maybe that's the role that I'm going to continue to play is, being that kind of connector for the students and the students to be with the profession, because I'm not afraid to ask, and that's something I learned at a young age. If you don't ask, you never get what you want. And so I'll be happy to ask people on other people's behalf for assistance or guidance or whatever it might be, because when I've overcome that fear and pushed past that limit, that's when other things have become possible in my life.
Mhm. Yeah, no, it's going to be really exciting. As you know, the board just approved the proposal that I had submitted for the pre-chiropractic project to be not only endorsed, but also partnered with this state association, California Chiropractic Association. So I'm really excited to work with you and really help build the infrastructure so that people can feel more supported and also be given more opportunities to engage in not only helping defend the profession, but also advance some of the projects and some of the opportunities, just making more available to people.
No, me too. When I heard your idea, I was like, oh, this is a good idea. I can remember your conversation, and you and I had probably this, but when you were just entering into chiropractic college, and we were at a seminar somewhere, and I remember thinking, man, this guy's got some good ideas. Like, I gotta remember to talk to this guy every once in a while, kind of thing. And here we are.
Here we are. Yeah, no, this project's 10 years in the making. I decided to do this back in third quarter, and that was around the time I was meeting you, because I would be at a different seminar every weekend. And like you, I'm not scared to go up to people and talk to them and engage them and find out what's important to them. And that just helps heighten my focus and helps heighten my exposure. And so that's what I've done consistently since I entered chiropractic, and realized, I didn't grow up in a chiropractic family. This is brand new. I need to explore everything I can. And this platform is allowing me to create context for prospective students where they can easily explore the art sciences, the big thinkers, the big ideas in chiropractic, and get better exposure also to the communication styles and the business models and the entrepreneurship that's really, all essential if you're going to be successful and if you're going to fully embrace this identity of becoming a chiropractor.
Yeah, I think that's super important. I mean, the opportunity that you have to engage, I think that's what has made this so much more of a lifestyle than a job. It's, if people say, I got to get up and go to work, or I got to go to my job, you won't have that sense of, I guess, frustration, or maybe some cases despair, when you engage in this type of purpose on a day in and day out basis. Now, I'm not suggesting that, there's not going to be some days it's tough to wake up kind of thing, but the reality is, because I engage so wholeheartedly in the chiropractic profession and just in chiropractic, like I said, there's no days off, but it doesn't feel like I really work. And so that's really, I think, the blessing that the chiropractic profession has, for the chiropractor to be. It's the blessing that it's created in my life. It's the opportunity as an entrepreneur that we have. And I really, it's truly a blessing to be able to do those kind of things.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing with any prospective student out here. It's been super valuable. We've touched on a number of topics. There's a lot for them to wrap their head and minds around, but that's why we're trying to, really give them that time and space to do that. So thank you, Dr. Phil. I appreciate it, man, and we'll be in touch. Keep building.
Feel free to have anybody reach out to me too that wants to have a discussion or is looking for connections or opportunities. I'm happy to provide you with my contact information to have people get in touch with me. And this isn't just something I want to be a resource for, chiropractic students or chiropractors in the field, but potential chiropractors as well. It's whatever reach I can have in that respect is what I want to do. So thanks again, Ben, for having me on.
Absolutely. Appreciate you.
Take care.